Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tams, and normally I create content that encourages a well-lived creative life. However, today I am going to elaborate on the year-long life transformation journey that I took and started at this time last year. I did share with you guys last week a before and after picture of how that's been going, and I shared this photo. The photo of me on the left is what I looked like last year, and the photo on the right is what I look like now. Hopefully you can see and notice a little bit of a change. I would like to preface all this before I get started and let you know that no weight loss drugs of any kind were used. I'm also not a medical doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not a pastor. So I am just going to be sharing with you my personal story, and maybe somewhere out there, this will resonate with someone, and it will help you. So let's begin with why I decided to do this challenge and embark on this journey. So the photo on the left is me a year ago in May, and I was sitting in North Carolina, in Asheville, North Carolina, one of my favorite spots. I'd spent the weekend with my family for a family event. My family in that area of North Carolina is extremely active and fit, and a lot of times we like to do hikes together. But for this trip, all we did was go to the Biltmore Estates to look at some art and tour the gardens. And if you've ever been there, you know the gardens have an incline. And just while I was walking up the incline, I was experiencing such shortness of breath and fatigue and nausea and dizziness. I felt awful, and I just was so embarrassed that I could not even keep up with family members just walking on an incline at the Biltmore Gardens. Some other things that were going on before that trip even began. I was at my highest weight at that time. I was extremely bloated and swollen. My joints hurt every time I stood up to walk. When I did stand up from my desk job, I would feel incredibly dizzy, a lot of times nauseous. And if I did anything physically, like around the house, if I cleaned or were just straightening things up, I'd have to lie down, constantly lie down on the couch for about 15 or 20 minutes to gather myself. I was just completely worn out and out of shape physically. Mentally, there was a lot going on there too that was concerning me. I had been experiencing what I would call ruminating thoughts, and that is basically when you get in your mind a thought and you just cannot let it go. It would not stop. It would keep me up all hours of the night. I barely got any sleep. And when you're in that type of state, that's when anxiety starts to come into play. And more concerning to me is the utter self-absorption that comes when you're thinking that way. You completely stop wondering how other people are, what their point of view is, that sort of thing. And I would catch myself when I'd be with my family or friends, people close to me, and I'd learn something about them maybe that they share, and I would just be completely blown away because I had been so caught up in my own self. I was like, how did I not see this to maybe help this person? And that is just so humbling and just an awful place to be mentally. Spiritually, I am now 54. I was 53 at the time. And what I was experiencing, it was basically nothing, no anchor, no grounding. I will tell you, until I was about 35 years old, I was a very strong Christian. I attended church, Bible studies, small groups, and for various reasons, life happens like it all does to all of us. And I didn't have the strength to do it anymore, so I kind of left my walk there and started just looking at other ways to approach life spiritually. In a nutshell, I'll admit I was very unhappy with a lot of the things I was experiencing and learning. Things like alternative, new age type spiritual journeys. I was not finding anything there, and I was missing my old life quite a bit. I just had no idea how to get back into it. So while I was in Asheville, North Carolina, sitting in one of my favorite spots, I made a pact with myself. I decided I wanted to change a lot of things in my life. And I sat there and I created some baby steps. And it was something as simple as I'd like to be able to go on a hike with my family the next time I see them. And so all I did at that moment is, it was May, and here in Lakeland where I live, we have an annual summer sunrise 5K series that happens just a few blocks from my house, and you can power walk those. You don't have to run them. And I told myself I wanted to participate in each of the races. There's one in June, July, and August. And all I was going to do was walk, and my only goal was to increase my pace as I walked and trained for this. When I started doing this, I did share this goal and challenge with some close friends, and someone suggested that I meditate in addition to my walking. And I got to tell you, I did not want to meditate. I have tried meditating so many times, and I get that what they call monkey mind, where your thoughts just never quiet and they never sit. And I was always trying to do it the way that I thought it was kind of stereotypical, these ideas I had about meditating, and I just did not enjoy it at all. However, one of the things that I thought I would try is, when I was a Christian, I used to do morning devotions, and I would have what's called quiet time every morning. So I knew how to pray, and I knew how to have devotion. So I just started doing that again. I would start my mornings with just a quiet time. First thing I did after I got up in the morning. And that really worked. I got it. I think I know what people are talking about now when they say meditation, as long as I think of it as like prayer, as I can do that. And that made a big difference. Now, I did promise you that I would incorporate how journaling helped me in all this. So we're going to enter my journal. This was the journal I had last year. It had been filled with about 12 months of entries at that time. You can see, and I was just writing down everything you can think of. That's what a journal is for. And the weirdest thing happened is when I started going back to having a quiet time, all of a sudden, when I'd read my old entries in my journal, things just started to become very, very clear. And I started to see how my own behaviors were creating this very debilitating world I had put myself in. I made the choices, I did the things, I said yes to things I should have said no to, and I realized that I needed to start doing some things differently, simple things differently. And I started to do that. I started to put up some boundaries. I started to say no to some things, and for the most part, the majority of people in my life were very happy for me and very encouraging. I will say, at this point, if you try this and you start to put up some boundaries and someone gets upset with you and angry with you, that's probably a red flag that might not be the best relationship to have in your life. But like I said, I had a great family and friend network, very encouraging. I'm so thankful now for a lot of those people who had kind of kept me on the right path and helped me to get back on the right path, if you will. So that was something that happened immediately. Now, I did finish the Sunrise 5K series over the summer, and I did slowly increase my walking pace. And that was very exciting. I hit the milestone. I'll show you a picture here of how things looked, or how I looked at that point. I had not lost a lot of weight. And I will tell you that before I tried to do all this, just about anything I did I would not lose any weight. Nothing worked, and the weight just kept piling on, and I just kept swelling up. But with this kind of new mindset, starting the quiet time first thing in the morning and walking, I was able to complete the 5K series, and it gave me a lot of motivation to keep going. The other thing that I really wanted to do at this time is go back to church. I know that might be a shock to some of you, but I did reach out to some friends and found a church to start going to that I really enjoyed. And I just started showing up on Sundays and sitting and listening and journaling. And I kept on journaling. So it's just amazing what your journal will show you and tell you if you go back through it. The next thing I wanted to do was to find what we used to call a small group back in the 90s, and now they just call them groups, I think. But it's just a group of people through the church where we would get together once a week and either read a book together or have a Bible study together. And I found the most amazing group. I just love these ladies so much, and I'll pop their picture up here. And then came my next milestone in September. I flew out to Colorado to visit some family, and I was able to go hiking with them. We went on several hikes, and I'm going to pop a few pictures up here of what I was able to do. Now, keep in mind, I'm not hiking as far as they are, but I'm able to keep up with them pretty well considering, and I was so proud of this moment, and I felt great. So I had reached my original goal, which was to be able to go hiking with family the next time I saw them, and I was very, very happy about that. I was feeling really good and just motivated to do even more. A lot of times, or at least what I used to think, was that if I worked on my physical and got in shape, that would help my mental, and then eventually I'd come to some, spiritual high if I went that route. But really what was happening, what I was doing, is I was going the other way. Basically, I worked on my spiritual quite a bit, a little bit of physical, and the working on the spiritual was just opening my eyes, giving me so much clarity. The next stage was the mental started to improve. The ruminating thoughts and those types of things, they stopped. Now, I would have I'd have times here and there where they would come back, but it wasn't nearly what it was before, and I was sleeping again. I was waking up so rested. It was just amazing. And a lot of the soreness started to go away. Mostly on the physical side. I did not lose a ton of weight at this point, but the swelling came down and the bloating started to come down, and I was able to walk longer and do more things. Now, during this time, I do want you to know life was not perfect at all. There were a lot of hardships that were happening between May of last year and September of last year. I lost my job, for one, but I kind of knew it was happening, and it was okay. I was able to deal with that very well when it happened. And when it did happen, I was in a position where I could take 6 to 12 months sabbatical, and I decided that I was going to do that. I had the resources to do it. I've always been a saver, so I decided to take 6 months to a year intentional sabbatical. So that happened. We also had a death in the family suddenly. Bill's mother passed away suddenly. And we had all the hurricanes, the ones that came here through Florida and the ones that went through North Carolina, Tennessee, which affected some of my extended family. And a lot of the plans that I had made for myself that I thought I'd be accomplishing at that time, they just were squashed. Back around July, I had big plans to possibly sell this house and move back to North Carolina, to the Asheville area. So all of that was squashed. And it's okay. It was okay, because I started to realize that was probably not the plan for me anyway at that time. So it was okay. So I ended September on a high, even though these things were happening. I believe a lot of the hurricanes were end of September into October. So I would say I ended kind of mid-October on a high because I was feeling better. I was sleeping. I had accomplished my goal to hike with my family, and I was just all around happier, just a happier person and looking at life in a different way. And I was excited because I love the holiday season, and I had the opportunity to just enjoy and delight in the holiday season. And I set out to do that. We had a great holiday season. We traveled to a couple of places to visit family and enjoy them. And that put me in a great position at the beginning of the year to really go hard on the physical. So I felt like I had really gotten some things straight spiritually. A lot of the mental was just working itself out naturally. And now I was ready to tackle the physical. So at the beginning of this year, in January, I did hire a trainer to help me learn how to do weight training. That had been suggested to me as a woman over 50 to incorporate weight training. The other thing I did during the entire month of January is I did test out a lot of foods and things. I did some restricted eating of certain foods all throughout January so I could figure out what was causing some of the issues that I was having, like terrible heartburn, things like that. And that was just an eye-opening time. And I will tell you that the weight training I loved. I really enjoyed it. It was awkward at first, but I continued on with that trainer until the end of April. I took May off because of some other things that we were doing. But when I started, I think I was working with 5-pound dumbbells, and at the end of, now here at this point, I'm working with 25-pound dumbbells. So that is exciting. In terms of what I learned about food, I learned a lot about the foods I was eating, and I will tell you so far this year, what makes me feel best physically is when I eat a certain amount of protein. For me, and you have to work with your own physician and general practitioner and fitness trainer yourself. But for me, and I'm a very tall girl, large girl, I would have to eat over 100 grams of protein most days, and I would try to keep my carbs below 100 grams of carbohydrates. And for the most part, I did a lot of clean eating. It was not anything too restrictive, though. I still enjoyed sweets. In fact, I learned that a great time to have a sweet or a treat is right after you work out. So that was fun. You know, you feel like you get a little reward. So if I wanted a piece of a muffin or a coffee cake or toast or, something like that with a lot of carbs or sugar, I would eat it right after I worked out. So I learned a lot about food earlier this year. And I know everyone probably wants a number. I'm not going to share a number because those of you like me who are over 50, you know that the scale numbers mean nothing, especially when you're incorporating weight training. So I'm not going to share any numbers because I am still on this journey. But I will say at this time last year, all of my clothes were too tight. I could barely fit into them. And those clothes now are very loose, and I could probably go down a size. So I think it's safe to say I have lost at least a size in clothing. And a lot of the swelling has come down, and a lot of the joint pain has come down, and that makes it easier for me now to do more activity. So that is basically what I did. What I'm trying to share with you is instead of doing physical, mental, spiritual, I went the opposite way. I went spiritual, mental, physical. And I am still on this journey. I am getting ready to set up a new challenge. I love challenges, so I'm going to set up a new challenge for this summer to kind of keep this going and keep this motivation going. I'm very excited about that. During the month of May, I did continue to walk, and the only reason I did not incorporate the weight training is because we were working on this house and lots of projects, and at least 3 or 4 days a week I was moving stuff all around, and I did not want to be sore or hurt myself or anything like that. But I was so proud that I was able to do all that, where if I had tried to do it a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it, I'm pretty sure. I'm also still in the midst of my sabbatical. I am not working full-time at this moment, but I have been slowly getting back into some part-time work, and I'm focusing on things that I truly enjoy and that feel more aligned with what I want to do with this next stage in my life. So that has been a lot of fun to approach work in a new way. For those of you that don't know, I have spent most of my life doing very hard things. The first 20 years of my career, I was a chemical engineer, turned sales engineer, working for a 24/7 high-stress manufacturing environment. And then I later got my MBA and transitioned to another high-stress environment, which is advertising. So it's nice to kind of relax a little bit, I have to say, and I'm very grateful to be able to do this. Now, I won't be able to do this forever, but like I said, I am not just jumping right back in. I am doing a lot of part-time work right now, and that is fun. I'm able to do it, and it makes me happy. I hope this story that I am sharing helps and gives you guys not just the encouragement to live a well-lived creative life, but to live life well in general. And there's been lots and lots of books I've read over this past year that have helped me. If you're interested in those, let me know, and I'll just do a book share of some of the many resources that have helped me, because you cannot do this alone. I would say the most important thing to get out of this is surround yourself with good people, a good network that loves you and encourages you. But if you would like to see some of the other resources that I use throughout the year, I'll be happy to share those in another video. Thank you for asking me my story. I'm happy to share it with you, and I hope this helps. I'll see you next time.